In 2025, I read a total of 45 books, and for today's video, I want to talk about my absolute favorites of them. As for last time, if you hear weird sounds in the background, it is my kitten playing. No, I cannot catch her because she's got the zoomies. So hi and welcome back to my channel, my fellow fantasy lovers, or if you're new here, hi and welcome. My name is Kathy and I'm a fantasy book lover from Belgium. For today's video, I'm gonna talk about my absolute favorite books that I've read in 2025. And I have to admit, there were a bunch of mid books this year. I think I gave most books 3 stars, but there are still a bunch that I gave 4 and even 2 that I gave 5 stars. So let's get into those. There are 2 books this year that I gave a total of 5 stars. And the first book that I want to talk about is my absolute favorite book series, and this book concludes this series. It is, of course, Empire of the Dawn by J. Kristoff. And this is the finale to the Empire of the Vampire trilogy. Now, if you don't know about this series yet, it is about vampires, because Empire of the Vampire, the second book is Empire of the Damned, and the third book is Empire of the Dawn. In the world that we're situated in, vampires are very present, and there is a sort of day's death that took place a while ago, not like ages and ages ago, but a few years ago, and people don't know why the day ended, or like it stays permanently dark, more or less. And they want to find a solution. There are several prophecies about this, but no one actually knows what caused day's death, nor do they know how to stop it. We follow our main character, who's called Gabriel de Leon, who is a very sarcastic and likable but unlikable at the same time main character. Now, you will either love him or hate him. I personally loved him. He is the last Silver Saint. Now, in this society, when vampires mate with humans, a child is born, of course, and this child is sort of in between vampire and human. They are vampire offspring, so they have like the strength of vampires, but they haven't succumbed to the bloodlust and aren't as evil as most vampires are portrayed. Now, these kids or these offspring are all assembled in sort of monastery where they are taught how to be a Silver Saint and actually hunt vampires. And that is what a very big portion of this book is about. We have at the start of book 1, Gabriel de Leon, our main character, is captured and needs to retell his life story for it to be documented. So it is very much in an interview with the vampire style. Now, these books have a lot of brutal things going on, like war, like battles, like vampires attacking things, other creatures, like zombie-like creatures attacking people. There is a lot going on in this series. To just recap it for you in here, the ending was amazing, was epic. I did not see it coming, and now I want to reread this entire series, but knowing that every book is about 800 pages, I'm not sure how fast I will do that. But yes, this is hands down my favorite book series of all time, and Empire of the Dawn was the amazing conclusion to it. And honestly, if I could give this series more stars, I definitely would, because this is like Lord of the Rings territory for me. There are a few books that really shaped me as a person. The Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings trilogy did that, and now this series is part of those as well for me. Up next, my second 5-star read is something completely different. It is The Enchanted Greenhouse by Sarah Beth Durst. This is more a cozy fantasy, if you can still call this cozy fantasy, but it is not like the world is gonna end fantasy. It is more like something is going on in this tiny nook of the world, and this situation has to be resolved, and that's basically what's going on. Now, this is the second book that comes after The Spell Shop, but you don't have to have read The Spell Shop, although I highly recommend it. And there is a third book coming out next year, which I am very excited about as well. These are all cozy fantasies. There is a world building where there is magic, magical plants, magical humans, magic users, but there's also a lot of humans who don't use magic themselves or don't know how to use magic themselves. So for the setup of this book, we follow a librarian who was turned into a statue, and at the beginning of the book, she is set free of her statue form and she starts exploring the island on which she has been unstatue fight and help what's going on there. So I'm not going to go too much into depth because it spoils the beginning of the book. But yeah, I really loved it. I loved the cozy vibes of it. I loved the found family aspect of it. And I'm really happy that I read this book. And the main reason it is also 5 stars next to the epic fantasy of J. Kristoff is because this book just was perfect for me in so many ways. It had the cozy vibes. It had somewhat something that needed to be saved, so it wasn't like totally lacking of any interesting things happening, but it had like that really nice and easy feeling to it. So that's why I really loved this book. Up next, when we get into 4-star territory, there are a grand total of 13 books, which might seem like a lot, but considering how strict I am with giving ratings, it's actually a little bit. Some are 3.5, some are really 4 stars, but I will explain with each book. The first book on this list is Elemental Affections by Jamie Ryan. This is a romantasy book, definitely with a lot of magic use and magic users. The main character that we follow has problems at home, wants to go to the magical academy to prove herself, to take the entry exam and to advance in magic use. This is not something that is specifically encouraged by her family, but she goes anyway and she really works very hard to succeed in this. I really love this book. It was kind of between cozy fantasy and romantasy with a lot of found family. So if those things speak to you, I could highly recommend it. Up next, we have The Tainted Cup by Robert Jackson Bennett. The best way to describe it is epic fantasy and Leviathans meets Sherlock Holmes. In this book, our main detective is actually bound to like staying in a house and not actually investigating the crime scenes, but her assistant does all of this for her. Now, everyone in this world building can be magically grafted or altered to be able to do certain things better. So there are still people who are non-grafted, but the majority has some sort of graft added to them. So some are fighters, and the main character that we follow is this boy who has been grafted to be able to memorize things thanks to scents. So he's constantly carrying around scent files, and at the crime scene he uses the scent files to register everything, conduct interviews, and then report back to the main detective, who then connects all the dots and solves the mysteries. I really loved the first book, hence why it got 4 stars. I also read the second book, and to me, it really had second book syndrome, so I'm not sure if I'll be continuing the series, but the first book as a standalone, I can highly recommend it to you. Up next, we have Quicksilver by Kelly Hart. This is a fae-based fantasy book where our main character at the beginning of the book is nearly killed and then actually goes into this fae realm and gets introduced into the fae society there, not always in a friendly way. And she actually makes a connection with Quicksilver, which is a magical metal type element, and because she has a connection with this metal, she needs to help their kind of blacksmith figure, is the best way to describe it, to make items out of this metal and to be used in war. I really enjoyed book 1. I've not heard good things about book 2, but I have Brimstone on my shelves and I will be for sure reading it soon. After that, another romantasy. It is When the Moon Hatched by Sarah A. Parker. In this world building, you have a big fantasy world, and our main character at the beginning of the book is kind of in this assassin type situation, but she discovers more about herself during the book. It is kind of like the amnesia trope, if I can call it that way. She has forgotten a lot of elements about herself, something has happened to her, and during the book you puzzle together those pieces as she goes along. There are dragons in this book, there is a lot of romance in this book. In hindsight, would I have still given it 4 stars? Maybe it would have been more like a 3.5, because to be honest, I completely forgot the majority of what happens in this book. The only thing I really remember is that the dragons were amazing. And the second book in this series is coming out pretty soon, and I think I might be reading it. It is definitely on the books that I am watching, but maybe I'll wait until there's a few reviews in, because I hope it's just good. Up next, something completely different. That time I Got Drunk and Saved a Human by Kimberly Lemming. This is fantasy romance smut with shifters, and in this book a dragon shifter saves a human. And the main thing in this book series is that the female characters in these books are connected. The first book to the second book are best friends. The third book is related to the girl in the first book, and they are all normal-bodied people. They're not super skinny, blonde, perfect features. No, they are real humans. And that is what I specifically love about these series. Are they the best books ever? No, but are they fun and enjoyable reads? Yes, absolutely. And I can highly recommend them if you want fantasy smut. Then we have another book with vampires. This one is The Court of Shadows by Victor Dixen. Victor Dixen is a French author, and now his books are being translated to English. Book 1 and Book 2 have already been translated of the Vampiria series, but the third one still hasn't been translated, which is a shame, to be honest, because it's been 3 years, I think. The first book, Court of Shadows, follows this young girl who lives in a village. And in this world building, the ruler of France is Louis XIV, and he is a vampire. So the entire country is kind of governed and ruled by vampires. Humans are mostly used as blood stock, so everyone has to donate blood in order to be able to be allowed to keep living and working there. So the main character that we follow at the beginning of book 1, she is a low class living in this tiny village outside of the parts of Paris, like not super close, but like not super far either. Something happens, and she is taken to this high court, thinking she's someone else, and there she starts exploring what is actually going on. She discovers the court intrigues, and she starts finding a way to stand up for herself. I really loved the world building, the scene setting, everything about book 1. In book 2 it felt a little bit repetitive, so I was really curious to see in book 3 how this trilogy would have been concluded. So when that book comes out, I will definitely be reading it. And the main character is quite young. I think she's 15, 16, something along those lines, which is not super young, but it's not really old either. But this is like the perfect age there for young people to be taken into this like court training thing that they have. Up next is another specific fantasy romance book. It is Phantasma by Kaylie Smith. In Phantasma, there are 2 sisters, and we follow the oldest sister as their mother dies, and she takes over the magical powers that her mother has. So we start the book with her having to perform a ritual to take over the magical abilities that her mother had before her. Otherwise, those magical abilities are completely lost. Now, she has been trained all her life to inherit these magical abilities, but she's kind of been kept in the dark about financial status, that the home maybe wasn't entirely paid off. And once every so often, Phantasma comes to their city. It's kind of like a haunted mansion type vibe, where you can submit yourself to be entered into Phantasma. You don't know who enters. All that you know is when you win, you can win whatever you want, but when you lose, you just get kicked out of the house. And there's also a big possibility that you die there, because devils are running this haunted house. Real devils. Most of the trials are related to the circles of hell, so it is a very particular book. It is more a darker vibe. There is romance, there is smut. There are things that you see happening from the get-go if you pay a little bit attention. But yeah, overall I found this a very enjoyable book. And in book 2, which is called Enchanted, that I unfortunately still haven't read, we follow the younger sister. Up next we have Blood over Brighthaven by M.L. Wang. This is a fantasy standalone in which we have a magic system that was really impressive, and at the end of the book, once you discover what it actually is, I was really amazed. We follow this young girl, and in this world you have different levels of magic users, and like the archmages, the council of mages consists for now only of men. And it's not that women aren't allowed, it's just that up until then no woman has made it up to that level. So of course our main character does everything she has in her power to succeed the trials and to be admitted as one of those high mages. And with a lot of struggles she succeeds at that, and once you become one of the high mages you get to work on specific research projects that require a lot more magic or that are more intricate, and that's what she starts doing. And and that's when we start exploring the magic system of this world even more. I really liked the morality aspects of this book, and if you haven't read it yet, I could very highly recommend it. After that, we have Bound in Violet Ink by Charlotte Mallory. This book is a fantasy romance with fae, and we have like dark fae and light fae, and we follow two fae as they're writing letters to each other. The one person is the so-called daughter of this like light fae realm prince or ruler or whatever, one of the highest placed people there. And on the other hand, we have this dark fae, and at the beginning of the book we don't exactly know what his status is. So those two are writing letters to each other, and that's how they build this connection and a romance starts forming. So this was a very easy read if you like fantasy romance and letter style. This could really be for you, and it was really a fresh breath of air in the more like difficult books or harder books that I usually read. It was quite short as well, if I remember correctly, so I went through this book really fast. Then we have another fantasy romance, but this one is a little bit more cozy. It is The Phoenix Keeper by S.A. MacLean. The Phoenix Keeper talks about exactly what the title says, a girl who actually is in charge of the phoenixes at the magical zoo that she works at. Now these phoenixes, this is a specific type of phoenix, and they have a breeding program, but something in the breeding program doesn't really go exactly how it's supposed to in another zoo, due to which she gets put in charge of the new breeding program, but the entire facility that they have is outdated. So there's like a lot of struggles along the way as she needs to like work on this zoo type situation. Now there's a lot of magical animals in this. If that's something that you enjoy, I could highly recommend it. This girl is not really an outcast, but she's like very particular. The romance in this book was really pretty and really beautifully written as well, so I could highly recommend it. Then we have another fantasy romance, but a completely different one. This is called The Irresistible Urge to Fall for Your Enemy by Brigitte Knightley. This book is enemies to lovers, but they aren't lovers yet at the ending of book one. They are constantly bickering and like giving each other jabs because they have to work together, and I loved it. The banter in this book is incredible. The setup of this book is that on one side we have this healer girl who is incredibly good at what she does. She works for like the healer guild, and everyone in this world building has magical powers, but by getting a hand palm tattoo, you unlock certain extra abilities. I'm pretty sure that she has a swan for the Healers Guild, and then the other person is actually this type of assassin, and he has a dark wolf or a hound or something on his hand. I don't know the specific details of both of their tattoos, but basically he is losing his magic because the magic system is kind of like the blood in your veins. It's like a venal type system, and it can also get clogged and blocked just like arteries can. So this healer specializes in magical healing and healing the magic systems of people, and he wants to ask her to help him, but of course it's not as easy because they're like complete opposites of what they do for a living and their moralities and their beliefs. So he tries to bribe her at the beginning of the book and blackmail her into helping him. He doesn't succeed, but at the moment that they are having this discussion and he's bribing her, the Reverend Mother, or like the High Priest type situation of the Healer Coven, walks in on this conversation, and she starts negotiating because she knows that they need a lot of money to be able to function, and she's like, you're gonna heal him, you're gonna help him to the best of your abilities, and he needs to pay the money upfront in gold back. So he does that, and this is how they set up, where they have like times where they come together to work on a solution for his problem. And it is quite hilarious how this happens because they're not exactly sure what they do. This is not something that has been done before. So they're really trying to figure out a solution for this magical blockage. And I absolutely love this book. I cannot wait for the next ones in this series. Up next, we have another magical story. This is more a cozy fantasy coming of age story. This is Rewitched by Lucy Jane Wood. And most of the time when I tell you it's a coming of age story, it is about a young person like growing up, etc. and finding their abilities and like becoming the best version of themselves. In this book, it is a almost 30-year-old witch who has been living amongst humans with the little bit of magical abilities that she had, but hasn't really done anything with them. And on her 30th birthday, she has to prove to the magical council of her region that she's worthy of keeping her magical powers, or she will lose them all. And that is kind of the trial that we go through in this book. I love this book. It has a lot of found family elements as well, and I think if you haven't read it, read it. There are more books by the same author, but they didn't really appeal to me, so I think Rewitched as a standalone is perfect. And then the final book is Princess of Blood by Sarah Hawley. This is the second book in the Shards of Magic series that she's writing. We have a human village next to a sort of bog, and if you are able to get through that bog, you come into the Fae world. Every year the Fae claim some humans through the bog and actually take them with them to their Fae realm. And in book 1 we follow, as our main character follows the chosen ones, because she isn't the chosen one, to see what actually happens. Book 2 follows on that. I'm not going to talk too much about it. It has a lot of really cool magic systems, court intrigues, and I absolutely loved it. So these were my personal favorite books of 2025. There were a bunch of them. Feel free to let me know in a comment down below. Do you have similar favorites of the last year, or were there other books that you also really enjoyed? I would love to know. If you enjoyed this video, give it a big thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I make new videos every week, and the next one is going to be about my least favorite books of 2025. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you very soon with the next video. Happy reading! Bye!